the true cost of production is not the resource cost. The true cost of production is the opportunity cost. If we think about what Jim and Cindy give up in order to paint a room, it's not time. They don't really care about time, other than the fact that they can use that time to plant flowers. Specialization, according to Comparative Advantage, which is based on opportunity cost, will allow Cindy and Jim to produce more goods in the same amount of time. So comparative advantage refers to the person with the lowest opportunity cost of production. And we can find opportunity cost by examining the time it takes to produce each product. So I've got another table here where I'm going to fill in the opportunity cost of production for each person and for each good. We'll start with Jim. You can see that it takes Jim 120 minutes to paint a room. That's the time cost or the resource cost of painting a room. But we're interested in the opportunity cost. How many flowers could Jim have planted in the time it takes him to paint one room? I always phrase this to myself the same way every time. In the time it takes to produce one room, how many flowers could be planted? This will give you the opportunity cost of one room. If we reverse that, if we say in the time it takes to plant a flower, how many rooms could you have painted? Then we would be calculating the opportunity cost of planting flowers. All right, so for Jim, it takes Jim 120 minutes to paint a room. And in 120 minutes, Jim could have planted 6 flowers. So in our table here, you can see the opportunity cost of one room is 6 flowers. And if we think about the opportunity cost of a flower, you'll notice that it will just be the inverse of the opportunity cost of a room, right? So if I think about the opportunity cost of a flower, I would say, well, it takes 20 minutes to plant a flower and 120 minutes to paint a room. So the opportunity cost of one flower is 1/6 of a room. We can do the same thing for Cindy. It takes Cindy 80 minutes to paint a room, in which time she could have planted 8 flowers. And then notice again, the opportunity cost of the other good will just be the inverse, or 1/8 rooms. Okay, so now that we have our opportunity costs, we can determine who has the comparative advantage in producing each product. So if we look at the column for rooms, I can see that Jim's cost is lower than Cindy. Jim only forgoes the production of 6 flowers instead of the 8 flowers that Cindy could have planted in the time it takes her to paint a room. Cindy, on the other hand, has a comparative advantage in producing flowers. This contrasts with absolute advantage, where Cindy had the absolute advantage in the production of both goods. So we can see that even though Cindy is better at producing both painted rooms and flowers, Jim has a comparative advantage in painting rooms.